Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Periquet, co-founder of Art in the Park. Welcome to our presentation today. The presentation today is sponsored by BPI, and we thank the Ateneo Art Gallery for their assistance and participation as well in today's panel discussion. We will be having a panel discussion today that involves participants who have been one of the earliest participants in Art in the Park for many, many years now. And this is the Ilustrador ng Kabataan, the Association of Children's Books Illustrators. And they recently had an exhibit at the Ateneo Art Gallery. So I'd like to pass you on now to Boots Herrera, who is the Director and Chief Curator of Ateneo Art Gallery, and she will be introducing the panel today. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and to Art in the Park for collaborating with the Ateneo Art Gallery this afternoon. Today's session runs parallel with an ongoing exhibition in the Ateneo Art Gallery that celebrates the 30th anniversary of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan. The exhibit opened last October 2021, and it was curated by Ang Ink members, namely Isa Nazareno, our moderator for today, and Lisa Flores. It is our pleasure to host or co-host this exhibition, host this exhibition and co-host the panel session, as we pay tribute to the achievements and contributions of Ang Ink in the development and continued growth of children's book publications in the country. The video played earlier, and we also have that video in our YouTube channel, gives you a glimpse of the many wonderful works on exhibit, and we hope you can visit during its run, which ends on July 2022. Today's online panel discussion features 3 members, namely Angela, Brent, and Jamie, and will be moderated by our colleague here in Ateneo de Manila University. Isa Nazareno teaches history and art history at the Ateneo and is a member of Ang Ink. And as mentioned earlier, she co-curated the organization's current exhibition, Ink Story, 30 Years of Ang Ilustrador ng Kabataan, on view at the Ateneo Art Gallery. May I now call on Isa Nazareno? Hi, Isa. So thank you for convening this panel, and we look forward to to the discussion.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Boots, for that introduction. And a big thank you to the Ateneo Art Gallery for generously hosting the 30th anniversary exhibit of Ang Ink. We'd also like to thank Art in the Park for including Ilustrador ng Kabataan among its special exhibit artists this year and giving us an opportunity to share our experiences and insights. So this afternoon, we have a panel of 3 speakers who will share their experiences both as individual artists and as their insights also as artists working within a group or a community of artists. So this will be followed by an open forum. So we encourage those of you with us here in the Zoom room to type in any questions or comments you might have in the Q&A box. And those who are watching through the Art in the Park Facebook page to also please type in your questions. We're glad you're here, and we hope to have a stimulating chat during the open forum. So allow me now to introduce our speakers this afternoon. Let me start with Angela Tagyang, who is an illustrator, graphic designer, and member of Ang Ink. She creates commercial, editorial, and educational materials for various publications, institutions, and organizations. In 2021, her work for Ang Batang Puppet was selected for the 9th annual Sharjah exhibition for children's books illustrations, an exhibition that showcases outstanding children's books illustrations from the United Arab Emirates and around the world. She loves drawing with pencils because of their delicate yet expressive quality, and dreams of writing and illustrating her own stories in the future. The second speaker is Brent Sabas, an advertising art director, painter, illustrator, and member of Ang Inc. His art is known for anthropomorphic portraits, which use animals to tell hidden stories about the human character. In 2016, he was included in Real Living Magazine's 25 Creatives to Watch. His works have been featured in print and online, such as in Tatler Asia, CNN Philippines, and Nylon Manila. Brent has held solo exhibitions as well under Gallery Stephanie and Space Encounters Gallery. Last but not the least, we have Jamie Bauza, an illustrator, designer, crafter, and member of Ang Inc. She loves to tell stories with her works and is passionate about picture books. Jamie's art is inspired by colorful scenes from everyday life, nature, children, and dance. She enjoys working with different media from watercolors, colored pencils, and digital illustrations through ceramics. You can see her works at jamiebauza.com. So let's now listen to our speakers tell their story, their ink story. Okay, so may I now call on our first speaker, Angela. Please go ahead.
Hello. I'm Angela. I've been an Inky since 2011, but I actually first applied in 2008. Tapos na-reject ako. Again, the following year, nag-apply uli ako, pero it was more of an attempt kasi hindi ako umabot sa deadline. 2010, I can't remember kung nag-call for membership. Pero nung finally, 2011, nag-apply uli ako and nakapasok na ako. I joined because I was looking for a way para magawa yung illustration, yung pag-illustrate professionally. Or kung possible ba yun at all. Hindi ako sure kasi at that time. I had been working then as a graphic designer at a small marketing company for maybe 2 years. And I was feeling like I needed a more creative outlet. So, naghahanap talaga ako ng gustong mag-drawing. But finding opportunities as an illustrator was hard. So, yung artwork ko, this is what I drew for Ink's 30th anniversary. This artwork is like a summary of how I feel about Ang Ink. So I drew this because I still feel at home with Ang Ink. Next, please. Ito yung first application ko in 2008. Na natin i-zoom in, pero ito yung meron pang manual na na application form, printed application form. Pero since natanggap ako sa Ink, tuloy-tuloy na yun eh. I just kept showing up kasi nakakagana din talaga eh. Nakaka-inspire yung members. Tapos I helped out whenever I can with whatever I can do at the time until eventually I made more friends. Tapos I made new connections that would have been harder to make on my own. Tapos after a year, I became an officer, which I took as a privilege kasi parang, wow, pinagtitiwalaan ako ng mga mga taong nirespeto tsaka hinahangaan ko. Parang, ang galing lang. Next, please. Speaking of ang Ink being an org, this is a section of our constitution. Yes, we have a constitution. So, ito yung highlight ng aming 4 main objectives: to professionalize the illustration industry, to develop and raise the quality of illustrations for children's books, to uplift the professional lives of the illustrators, and to set up effective linkages among creatives, publishers. Ayun. Next, please. So how do we do these? How do we accomplish these objectives? First, by organizing relevant workshops and talks for Inkies. Ito yung sample ng mga past internal workshops ng Ink through the years. So, madalas to yung copyright and contracts workshop. Ito, minsan then outside Ink, madalas ma-invite yung members namin to speak about copyright, children's books. Ito yung actually itong isa kahapon lang. So, fresh na fresh. Next, please. Ito naman, another internal event by TP Go of Googly Googies. Tinuruan niya lang kami kung paano gumamit ng social media na mas effective as artists. Next. Ito din. So, as you can see, we take illustration very seriously. Next. Ito din yung isa sa mga popular talks na sa tingin ko, hindi talaga matitigil yung discussion na to, yung pricing and how to promote your art online. So parang ongoing siyang discussion, palagi siyang may fresh takes, hindi rin nauubos yung ang bagong insights, ganyan. Next. And yes, yung favorite nating lahat na inevitable na part ng ating buhay as professionals, tax talks. Importante din talaga. Next, please. Ink also encourages, guides, and support illustrators by, next. Ito, holding portfolio reviews. Internal event ito. Isa to sa mga regular din namin ginagawa. Next, please. Ito naman isang public event pero ang ganda din kasi puro Ink members yung na-invite na speakers. Next, please. This was an art day, one-day art event hosted and sponsored by Fabriano. Tapos ito, isang series of talks na in-arrange ng Ink officers to parang equip the members or to give us a better parang fighting chance na para makapasok sa Bologna Children's Book Fair. So for those of you who don't know, Bologna Children's Book Fair is like the mecca for children's book illustrators. We want to be part of that, not to seek validation from the industry leaders, but to make ourselves and our stories known around the world. So nakakatuwa kasi unti-unti nakakapaglagay na tayo ng presence dito. Kasi in the past years, naging finalist na sila Fran Alvarez, sila Aldi Aguirre, si Tin Javier. So slowly, medyo sana nararamdaman na nila yung presence natin. Next. Ito pala yung sa Fabriano Art Day. Next. Yung guidance and inspiration from Ink members, hindi lang siya exclusive sa within the org. Ito yung nilabas namin siyang series of tips, parang words of wisdom na rin from Ink members during our last call for membership. Parang in the weeks leading to the deadline for application, naglabas kami ng mga ganito sa social media namin para din mabigyan ng tips yung aspiring illustrators tsaka para mas mabigyan sila ng better chance to get into the organization. Next. Ink also regularly showcases the works of Inkies in different ways. Next. ito sa mga annual catalogs namin. Ito yung catalogs namin through the years. Next. Annual exhibits. Ito yung current exhibit namin sa Ateneo Art Gallery on view until July 30. And also, of course, yung regular na participation namin sa Art in the Park. Next. So, how does all this affect me? Kung naapektuhan ba talaga ako nitong mga... Next. Nabigyan ako nito ng opportunities at exposure. Ito yung magandang type ng exposure to showcase my work. Tapos dahil din nagkakaroon ako ng mga ganitong klase ng opportunities, nagkakaroon din ako ng confidence to converse or engage with clients better kasi alam ko yung value ng work ko. Next. Tapos nararamdaman ko rin, tsaka nakikita ko na nag-evolve yung work ko through the years kasi nakaka-inspire talaga eh. Pag yung mga nakapalibot sa'yo, ang gagaling. Tapos, pero kailangan ko lang din sabihin na hindi automatically dadating yung ganitong opportunities once you become an Inc. member kasi you also have to do your part. You have to show up, you have to keep learning, you have to keep practicing, and eventually, inevitably, your passion, your dedication, and your skills will shine through. Next. And people will start to notice. Next. So ito yung 5 things summarized na I learned from ang Inc. na nakatulong para masustain ko yung creative practice. Number 1 is know your and assert your rights. Information talaga is our weapon. Second, no contract, no work. Di siya masayang gawin pero dapat masanay tayong magkaroon at magbasa ng contract kasi isa-save talaga niya yung professional life natin. At saka isa-save tayo from unnecessary stress and problems. Tapos, illustrators are co-authors. Hindi tayo, especially when it comes to children's books, hindi tayo secondary, hindi secondary yung role natin. Importante yung role natin. Tapos, creativity is just half the work. As much as we hate dealing with contracts, taxes, admin stuff, there really is no way around it. Pero yung good news doon ay we aren't alone. At sobrang doable siya, I promise. Pwede mong i-design na lang yung invoices mo, letterheads, cost estimates, para lang ganahan kang tingnan kung na-overwhelm ka dun sa mga parang technical stuff. Whatever it takes, whatever works for you, do that, find that. Tapos, you may have to do a lot of unfamiliar things at the start, pero palagi namang may matatanungan. And last, we are stronger together. Find a group of people, kindred spirits that you can trust. Don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for help from the community. Collective efforts are vital and more effective in uplifting the industry. So find your support system, find your home. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Thanks, Angela. So, on that note, okay, so Angela just scratched the surface of the professional aspect of illustration. So maybe just to reiterate or highlight some points she mentioned about it's not just being professional as an illustrator when you face your clients, but also the efforts to also, I guess, try to educate people that you work with regarding the rights of the illustrator and artist. And she ends with, we are stronger together. So finding kindred spirits who can be a source of support in your profession. So on that note, I turn to our second speaker, who very aptly will talk about what he cheekily titled inclusivity. So Brent, take it away.
Hello, guys. So, I'll be talking about inclusivity. Tinawag itong walang anumang style lang may iwan sa laylayan. So I'd like to discuss the inclusivity of ang Inc. as a group and the diversity of styles within our community. So this presentation is very personal kasi I will also discuss paano yung mga styles in the group influence my work through the years. So next slide, please. So this is my work for our 30th exhibit. Ang title niya ay Pagsibol sa Paglikha. I used gouache for my work. No? So the idea naman is pretty basic. Pero yan talaga yung journey ko with ang Inc. It's about growth. When you join Inc. kasi, growth is inevitable. So matututo ka from these various people that you meet, you interact, you learn their techniques and creative point of view. So yeah, this is my Inc. journey, my Inc. story. So exposure. So when I joined ang Inc. in 2008, I got exposed to different art styles that shaped my craft through the years. So una, I'd like to shout out lang or thank Sir Totet De Jesus for inviting us to join ang Inc. back in college. I was in third year ko as a fine arts student in UP College of Fine Arts. So prof namin siya and he encouraged us magbabarkada to join ang Inc. Yan. And dahil doon, I got exposed to different techniques and creative point of views nga. So for my succeeding slides, I'll be sharing some of my influences and from different Inc. members na noon when I was starting out in the group. Ito sila yung mga tinatry kong gayahin. I was trying to mimic their works. Yeah. So from my first artist na sobrang na-influence ako, si Mark Salvatos. No? He's an intermedia artist at co-founder ng Pilipinas Street Plan back in 2006. Focuses on street art. So the first time I saw his book, Mama's House, Papa's House, sumabog yung ulo ko. Parang pwede palang hindi cute ang children's book. I mean, it's cute, pero it's very gritty. Very swak nga sa story because it talks about separation of parents. So as you can see, he used mixed media, acrylic. I have a copy of the book. Tingnan ko siya kanina. Parang may etching siyang ginawa for the lines, white lines, and then he also incorporated collage. So yung mga textures niya are actually paper from magazines and printed works na. So it's almost looking at the painting in a gallery. Sorry, Mark Salvatos. So it's also Celio ni Lolo. It was a mind blown 2.0 naman kasi each page is like a gallery piece. So I actually copied his technique sa aking application artwork sa ang Inc. Hindi ko siya na-attach dito pero imagine parang naging green lang siya pero it has all the lines and textures. So yeah, I love, super fan of his work. And the next slide, si Brian Ballesteros. He was an illustrator and graphic designer in ABS-CBN back then. No? So I discovered his work, I think sa Inc. website pa kasi wala pa namang Instagram or Facebook wala pa ata no, Friendster pa. So I used to save his artworks from the internet. Tapos I saved siya sa PC ko. Such a fan of his works, especially the Bad Cat series. Ito nasa gitna. So it's like looking at parang na-transport niya to a different reality. It's like an escape. Diba? Parang he uses lines, line art, and digital coloring. So looking back, comparing my works now, tapos when I was working on this slide, I realized parang laki pala ng influence sa sa gawa ko because my subjects are mostly actually anthropomorphic characters with animal heads and human body. So, yeah. For next naman, si Jason Moss. For me, Jason Moss is a god. Sa industry natin, he's a well-known painter, illustrator, also a sculptor. I think he's one of the most productive artists sa Ang Ink. He produced 32 books already, kung di ako nagkakamali. I also used to save his work sa computer ko. So naikutan na niya yung various media, di ba? Parang meron siyang sculpture din and all these huge paintings. He plays on textures and loose strokes. What I love about his works, when you look at it, parang there's this chaos and the shock factor. Sobrang striking niya visually. So parang visually and emotionally, parang the visual jumps out of the canvas as if someone is parang weeping or shouting in front of you. So ganun siya kalakas sa akin emotionally, and I always aspire to be this artist na very striking ang works, hindi lang visually but also yung tapo ng emotion niya when you look at it. So that's Jason Moss. Those three artists yung mga influences ko when I was starting out as an Ink member na nadala ko throughout the years. Pero right now I am also obsessed with the work of my fellow Inky na si Romel Hoson. He's a UP College of Fine Arts instructor and painter. He uses mostly acrylic paints on his works. Actually, I was consulting about the best paint brands and techniques sa kanya last year bago ko ginawa yung exhibit ko sa Space Encounters Gallery. So he actually taught me how to do underpainting. So ganyan. So his works are very surreal, maganda, sobrang ang ganda ng textures niya and has a lot of symbolisms in his work. So it's very ang ganda. I think Romel Hoson is one of the most underrated artists na ngayon. I don't know why, pero yeah, his works are mind-boggling, but at the same time may warmth. So medyo may confusion of feeling doon, but yeah, that's how his works parang yun ang effect niya towards me. So these are my four parang samples of diverse styles that influenced me years back and now. So next slide, please. Expertise. So ang Ink members expertise on various media. So throughout the years kasi ang dami na pumasok na members na nag-represent ng mga bagong expertise when it comes to styles and use of different media. So before, more on flat surfaces, acrylics, watercolors, observation ko parang yun lang halos yung makikita ko back then. Pero ngayon, iba-ibang materials na and surfaces. So dumadami rin yung mga digital artists natin. Dati halos puro trad nga. It may be because of evolution then of available technology in media. For example, madaming Ink members ngayon ang nag-explore ng different, hindi na gumagamit ng paint. Actually, iba't ibang materials siya. For example, Cheps Remorosa, ang title ng work to I believe is Among the Flowers. So gumagamit siya ng embroidery to create lines and shapes. Interesting how we were taught basic sewing in elementary and high school, but for fixing our torn garments. Pero as you can see, si Cheps, pwede pala magamit siya to create stunning works like this. Also, Pepot Atienza, I'm such a fan. He tried several times and para makapasok sa Ink. I think ilang beses din siya hindi nakapasok, pero sobrang productive ngayon. He uses air dry clay for his sculptures to create these super detailed scenarios. For example, itong Piging for Len and Kiko. Yeah, such a fan. And then Perji Acuña, she uses paper cutting technique. Sobrang linis and precise and super details. In fact, sa unang tingin, parang illusion siya of parang vector work, but you realize it's made out of paper pala. So, matindi yung command niya sa blade to create these precise works. Next slide, please. And then there's, of course, Liza Flores, our haligi ng ink. Yung sabi ko, joke ko sila kahapon na kapag umalis si Liza sa ink, guguho ang group niya. So she's an award-winning illustrator who uses paper to create depth and space. As you can see then, parang gumagamit siya ng lighting to create, to maximize yung space, to create shadows, para ma-enhance yung depth niya. So, what's amazing about her work, I mean, for me, parang easy. Her works are parang easy on the eyes, kasi it's very cute. Parang swabe ng mga curves, but you realize it has so much precision and command sa technique niya. Kasi minsan hinahanap ko yung asan yung glue marks, parang bakit walang crooked lines or silhouettes. So yeah, I think ibang klaseng precision niya, and parang sobrang nagamay na yung ganung technique. And then there's Al Estrella, a teacher and illustrator. So nagme-make sense siguro why he was able to parang make use of molding clay. Kasi usually molding clay nilalaro ng mga bata. So he creates detailed, playful portraits and scenarios. In fact, I think his body of works is parang sobrang stand out kasi kaya siguro ang daming niyang mga commissions. Actually, very active siyang social media posting his commissions from ang dami-dami niyang nilalabas. One of those parang super productive artists din from Ang Ink. I think si Abby Hoson, she transitioned from her cotton candy vector artworks tapos gumawa siya ng 3D artworks na mukha talagang cotton candy. So she uses, sobrang linis ng kanyang needle felting works. Parang, actually, it looks delicious. You wanna take a bite. Parang siyang cotton candy or cake. So, yeah, very interesting. Parang ngayon lang may lumabas na ganito from Ang Ink. So as you can see, parang ang dami-dami ng materials na nagagamit, different surfaces na hindi lang flat. So nagkakaroon ng dimension yung mga works ng mga members. Yeah. And then, as I mentioned kanina, because of the emergence of new technology, dumami rin yung members namin na gumagamit na nagpo-produce ng digital artworks. For example, Jap Mikel, yung works niya are textured line art and flat, bold colors using loose strokes to create lines and shadows. So, yung works niya influenced by comic art and Japanese anime. Yeah, so that's his work. He uses Photoshop for this. And then Aaron Asis, very detailed. As an artist, very detailed gumawa. And sobra kong fan ng artist like Aaron. Kasi simple shapes and brush strokes, but he's able to create arresting visuals like this. Parang visually parang akala mo ang dali lang niyang gawin, pero actually mahirap siya, di ba? Kaya saan mo ilalapag yung mga lines and strokes to create this powerful image. So he also make use of different parang symbolisms, like for example in his work dito, yung fire niya is actually a book. So parang may sort of enlightenment sa mga tao nakapalibot sa kanya. And also Sai Vendeville, he uses a digital painting for his works. A lot of his works are actually anthropomorphic characters, and actually parang reminds me of parang Pixar animation concept art. So there, different techniques for digital. But I also wanna cite parang itong si Wicanadera. He's a new member din. His works are parang tumatawid din sa fashion and music, yung mga work niya. He also a digital artist, digital painting na ginagamit niya for his works. And then Jelly Manabat, what I like about her work, parang simple imagery but very powerful because of her use of colors. Yung contrast ng green on parang deep green on white, tapos may mga red highlights siyang ganyan, contrast siyang ganyan. Parang mukha siyang riso on the screen. And then Ara Villena, amazing si Ara kasi I've seen her, I mean, I'm aware naman tayo of her works, manual works, but she was able to parang apply her work sa digital na almost same looking, na parang bihira siya mangyari. Na parang when you look at her work, hindi mo alam kung manual ba to or digital. So may smooth parang transition siya between those media. So yeah, ang dami nang na-expose ang dami ng bagong techniques pumasok members sa ang Inc. So why is it important to have a community like this, like ang Inc? Parang importante siya for an artist kasi I mean we need a support system. We need a community na pagtatanungan natin about different techniques or contract issues or how to visually attack a story effectively. Even emotional baggages as artists, magaling ba ako? Deserve ko ba itong project na to? They will encourage you to push yourself, no? For example, it's the top right. That was my solo exhibit. So I owe it to some of my friends. From ang Inc din kasi Inkies kami lahat dyan. So andyan yung support system mo. And also with ang Inc kasi we have talks before the pandemic, syempre. We had talks, parang monthly meetings, sobrang kong namimiss din. And then workshops that will enrich your creativity. Hindi ko lang, ayan, so on the second photo, yung Inc meetings namin, meron din kaming parang buffet era. Meron kami parang halo-halo buffet. So alam mo yun, nagbabond kami through our art, to children's book art, and then food. So busog kami lahat dyan. And I just also want to share with you the influence, parang yung mga how my works evolved through the years because of my exposure to ang Inc members. Yung mga early works ko yung sa top right, mas nasabit ko for I think Manila Bulletin, mga Inc Corner, ganyan for Inc catalogs. Tomorrow Lines, actually makita mo parang gawa siya ni Brian Ballesteros, yung sa fourth image. And then, yeah, eventually nag-transition yung work ko from line art to paintings. So, yeah, there's growth in ang Inc and it's inevitable when you're in the group. So I encourage everyone to apply. Yeah, and everybody's welcome. Walang style ang maiiwan sa laylayan.
Salamat, Brent. You know, when I was listening to you, parang naisip ko nga, and I think we were also talking a bit about this yesterday, na when you're drawing, when you're creating art, painting, etc., it's a very individual activity. Pero maganda rin na pag ayaw mo nang mag-isa, kailangan mo ng sounding board, meron kang pwedeng lapitan. And listening to you, it's interesting also how, especially if you've been part of the group and you've stayed with the group for quite some time, you can actually see how some of your peer styles have evolved over the years. So, you know, we invite the audience, if you could drop by our exhibit in the Ateneo Art Gallery, you can actually spot in the vitrines, we have part of it is like an archival exhibit of past works, catalogs, and other output. You can actually spot earlier works of members, and then you can compare them to the new works on the walls which were created for this particular exhibit. And you can see yung jump nung works at nung styles ng members. So it's really very nice to be able to see that, and for someone to point it out if sometimes you're not very conscious of it. All right, so we go to our last speaker in the panel, Jamie, who will talk about the Pangkabuhayan package.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is the title of my talk because for me, nung sumali ako ng Inc, para akong nanalo ng Pangkabuhayan package. Meron ng networking, meron ng platform for my works, at maraming projects and opportunities. So next, I joined Inc in 2013, right after quitting my first job, fresh out of college, and I was very jaded because I was not happy in my just doing graphic design. I wanted something to do with illustration. And so I saw Ink's 20th anniversary exhibit at the Ayala Museum, and I said, perfect. They take new members, and I want to know more people who like to draw and want to illustrate books for children. And since then, Ink has become my well of inspiration, motivation, and wonder. And I'm always supported by and inspired to be a part of Ink. So one of the first things that happens when you join Ink is you make new friends and then you work together. So isa itong example nung monthly meeting namin na since wala kaming budget magpa-print ng ink merch, we just had the idea to bring our own t-shirts, cotton bags, whatever, and then we'll silk screen them ourselves. So we spent the whole day just making our own merch, and that was really fun. Next. And then we also have one of the things I miss since the pandemic is our basically any excuse to get together and eat. So we would have Christmas parties na for this particular one, the theme was dress up as a children's book character. So one of the Ink members actually dressed up as my character. So tuwan-tuwa ako dyan. And then next, we would also have field trips. So I don't know how, but somehow we ended up on a mountain, and I would not have chosen that for myself, pero because of Ink, napunta ako dyan. And then we would also have art fairs. We would join art fairs together para share ng table at hati din sa joining fee. So this is Angela. She was my table mate then. And then we would also have stuff like mural painting workshop, mural painting events, live painting for shows and stuff like that. Na nakaka-bonding talaga kayo. Next. And because of Ink, I also met the lovely people at Studio Dialogo, where I worked for 6 years. I finally found a graphic design studio that valued illustration as much as I did. And they became some of my closest friends and still are. And so, yeah, and they taught me a lot about this, not only design, but working as an illustrator and becoming a professional artist. Next. And there is also a lot of professional growth and opportunities thanks to Ang Ink. So in this photo is one of the workshops that I was able to join. It's hosted by Room to Read organization, where they selected illustrators and writers from the Philippines and China to make picture books together over the course of 1 week, which is usually not possible, but because of all of these publishers and creators coming together, we were able to make around 20 books, and they were distributed to children around the world. Next. Because of the exposure through Ang Ink, like the catalogs and the Ink website and Ink events, I was able to work with and very happy to work with a lot of local publishers. And these are all of the books that I've made so far. And you can also see how my style has changed from my attempt at realism to my abandonment of realism and going for more stylized works. And I also learned about finding an agent, the international illustration agency industry, and how to break into that. So very thankful to Ink. Next. And I also learned about all of these conferences and events that I did not know existed, like the Asian Festival of Children's Content in Singapore, which I went to with my fellow Inkies, and was also invited to speak at the local Children's Book Summit a few years ago with my fellow Inkies. And yes, next. And I was also very happy to join a lot of Ink-hosted events and Ink-led publications, such as the Ink Fest, where we have exhibits, merch selling, live painting, and all that. And we also made our own coloring book. Next. And I was also very honored to have my work exhibited at these prestigious galleries. such as the Filipinas Heritage Library, the Ayala Museum, and now the Ateneo Art Gallery. So without ink, I don't know if I would have been able to have my work there at all. So next. And one of the greatest honors of being part of Inc. is being able to be part of something big. So the project that I'm most proud of in particular is the Karapat Dapat book and artworks that we made in collaboration with Canvas to promote children's rights. So this is one of the large-scale artwork that we made and loaned to the Commission on Human Rights. So more exposure and then more wider reach for the art. And we were able to display our book and our art to at Geneva via this UNICEF exhibit. So we were very happy that we could reach even children over there. And our most latest book is this I Am the Change in Climate Change book, also worked with Canvas. And hopefully it will have the same reach as our previous book, so we can talk to kids about this very pressing and important topic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of the projects that Inc. will have in the future, and I'll definitely try to be part of it.
Thank you, Jamie. All right. So that ends the presentation part, but we'd like to again encourage those watching, if you have any questions or even comments, or you're wondering about something, ganun ba sila talaga kasaya? Even that, you can just post your questions so we can talk about them. So we'll now go to the open forum portion of this event. So I hope you guys listening picked up tips, ideas from what they shared. In the meantime, let me start with these questions, and I'll direct them to particular people already. So for Angela, are you there? Parang nawala.
Yes.
Nawala ata si Angela. Yeah, but you're not visible.
Hala, bakit? But can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you've become invisible. So yeah, so siguro while you're tweaking that, okay, let me ask Brent, okay? So Brent, you titled your presentation Inclusivity, walang style na may iwan sa laylayan. But the impression is all of you or almost everyone in Inc. has a fine arts background. Is this really necessary to be part of ang Inc? Tapos, you talked about transitions from styles. Dati medyo traditional, ngayon iba-iba ng media, madami na ring digital. San sa tingin mo pupunta pa yung itsura ng illustration, particularly for kids? Sorry, dalawang question yun. So kailangan ba ng fine arts background? Tapos anong masasabi mo sa future direction ng styles and techniques when it comes to children's illustration?
Being as a children's book illustrators org, may advantage talaga if you're a fine arts student or graduate, kasi nasa arsenal mo na yun gumagawa ka na talaga ng works. But sa application naman, we're not looking at the school. Hindi natin tinitingnan yung eskwelahan We're looking at the portfolio. Tignan natin portfolio nila. In fact, mayroon tayong member, di ba, si Rev. Hindi siya fine arts graduate. He's a physical therapist, pero he's a self-taught artist. So, yeah, naging active din siya sa ang Inc. Before, actually held a solo exhibit din. So, using parang coffee as his medium naman. So, hindi necessarily, hindi required ang pagiging fine arts student. It's an advantage, pero importante yung portfolio pa rin. And dun sa parang destination or kung saan pupunta yung look, tama ba? question.
Kasi it seems tinignan mo yung nag-iiba yung styles, techniques, and materials. Are you hoping to see more of something?
I think yung mga trad works are here to stay. But like kanina nga, from my slides, a lot of artists are exploring different media and playing on different kinds of surfaces like fabric or using clay or paper, ganyan. I think dadami rin yung mga digital artists natin. Maybe it's part of the evolution din kasi, hindi lang ng ink but the industry as well. Because if there's an available new technology, I mean, gagamitin siya ng mga artist eh. I mean, a traditional artist ako but I also work with Photoshop. So kung ano available at feel ko mag-work sa akin, I think dadami yung so again, parang yung digital dadami talaga. No? Kapag may na-produce ulit na bagong app or software, I think mag-emerge ulit yung mga new breed, quote unquote, of artists na pwedeng sumalis sa ang ink. Yeah.
So we're receiving several questions. I'll try to group them since some of them are related. So this is a question. So any of you can start, can take this question. And I guess it is related to the Pangkabuhayan package and the professionalization aspect of children's illustration. So we have an anonymous question. Do you work as illustrators full time, or do you have another job? I guess what people would often refer to as a day job. And if you have another job aside from illustrating, how do you divide your time to accomplish both? Does anyone want to take this question? Tapos may pahabol pa. So the full-time illustrator ba kayo o may iba pa kayong trabaho? Paano hinahati yung oras? And can you make a living, I guess, solely on illustration? Okay, who would like to take this question? Okay.
I can answer.
ahead.
For like almost 10 years, I worked as a graphic designer, full time, and then I would do my illustration work at night. So that was exhausting. And some people still do it today, Brent. Pero kakayanin. And I finally took the leap this year and became a freelance illustrator. But I wouldn't say it's enough to live solely on illustration. I still have to do graphic design work on the side. But the good news is there are more illustration projects now than when I started. So this can be like advertising work, branding work. Like sometimes companies will contact you to design like the packaging, restaurants, diba? We see a lot on social media, people making custom artworks for Uniqlo t-shirts. So there are more opportunities now. I wouldn't say it's enough. We can always use more. Kasi, diba? More money, more illustrators. But yeah, doing better, getting there.
Getting there.
How about Angela? Are you illustrating full time or balancing it with something else?
Yun yung magaling sa ink kasi you will find that a lot of us are illustrators / graphic designers. Yan yung parang magic combo eh. Kasi tama si Jane, hindi pa enough yung hindi ka pa mabubuhay dito eh currently kung illustrator lang. Isa yun sa mga dreams natin, kaya natin sinusulong din yung professionalization ng illustration industry, pero yung short answer doon is no, we cannot yet live on illustration alone.
Okay, Brent?
I cry. No. It's a balancing act siya for me. Since 2018, 09 or 11 ganyan. Kasi nag-work na ako agad sa advertising noon while same with Jamie, art director sa umaga, illustrator sa gabi, or pag OT ka, wala na illustrator part. Most of the time, OT ka. So yun, ang hirap i-balance lalo when you're in advertising kasi it really eats up a lot of your time. Hindi ko lang paano ko siya ginawa nung medyo bata-bata pa ako. Pero yeah, minsan 2 hours a day na lang yung tulog ko. It's not healthy, no? Pero parang kasi food for the soul ko yung doing my personal art eh. So kailangan ko siya. I mean, advertising, siya yung pumupuno ng aking financial bucket. Yung isa naman, my food for the soul type.
Char.
Ganda.
Char.
Sige, so since sinimulan naman ni Angela so that the the push for more professionalization, siguro parte na rin yun is trying to create a wider space, no? Para may more opportunities for artists and illustrators also. So parang cultivating an audience for it also. And I think Art in the Park is really a platform that helps do that. Okay. So Angela, there's a question. You might have touched on some of this in your presentation. Baka if the audience recalls yung mga pinakita mong mga talks natin, yung mga tema ng talks, medyo lumalabas na doon isa sa mga challenges. So ano yung nakitang need in terms of arming artists and illustrators to better cope with the landscape, the opportunities that are available or not available, and in terms of professionalizing the industry?
Yung need, sa tingin ko kasi kulang pa talaga yung overall na support from the government, from different, kahit anong industry actually, from different industries na gumagamit at nakikinabang sa illustration. Pero kasi din sa tingin ko para mabigyan ng focus at support yung illustration, kailangan muna ng enough na awareness tsaka ng education tungkol sa role ng illustration. So parang kailangan muna natin ma-establish yung importance nun. Naalala ko kahapon, na-mention ni Liza Flores sa talk niya sa IPOPHIL na walang illustration major dito actually sa fine arts program sa mga universities. So parang ang closest lang na kaya natin puntahan ay yung advertising or visual communications kasi yun na yung pinaka magta-touch doon sa sa illustration part. Pero parang lang yun actually, parang graze lang yun, parang nadadaplisan lang yung illustration. 'Di ba? Pero ayun so parang pag ganun, pag sa context ng profession, di parang sideline pa rin palagi yung illustration, parang hindi pa siya legit na profession. So ayun, sana mabago siya unti-unti.
Okay. So there's also a question from so some of the previous questions were from Candy. There's a question from Tricky Lopa. Are there enough children's books projects in the Philippines to sustain Inc. membership? Baka someone can elaborate on this.
To sustain Inc. membership.
To sustain Inc. membership.
As in like the fee?
I guess that there
Are there enough Inc. members joining?
I guess na over the past 30 years, the organization has actually continued to grow, even if it's not necessarily connected to always having projects, no? So maybe maybe Jamie, can you elaborate a bit on
actually
sustaining the membership, I guess, and because you also were an officer for a number of years, ano din yung challenge when it comes to membership and keeping the org afloat and together?
So one of the things I'm happy about is that we don't have to worry about new members actually, because there as the years have gone by, there are more and more people applying. Na sometimes it takes, more than one day to go through all of them as a group. Isang matagal na upuan talaga siya. So on that front, I'm very happy that a lot of people know about Inc. and want to join. So that's good. And because we always need new members, kasi since it's a big group, there will be a lot of people with different schedules, different jobs, diba? Different levels of commitment. So some people are able to join the manual stuff, like kailangan mag-ingress for exhibit. Yung iba na may mga day job, hindi pwede. So pumupunta doon yung mga freelancers. And then yung iba naman na may mga day job, para okay, maybe I can get my company to sponsor, or like I know people in the PR industry, perfect, diba? So members will contribute in any way they can. So it's not always time. So sometimes just sharing the ink post helps. And then and then even if there are like no companies or brands that approach Inc., we come up with projects ourselves. So kunyari, we have our annual exhibits now. Sige, mag-exhibit naman tayo since wala tayong ginagawa fourth quarter. So so I think that's what's important about getting new members. There's always new energy, new ideas.
Thanks. And I guess part of it also is, I remember when I joined parang 2000. And there are also times na you have members who are gonna be active and then disappear and then resurface again after a few years. And so it's a whole process na, kunyari ako, there are a lot of new members I don't really know, especially because of the pandemic. We haven't been meeting face to face. But in the past years, there usually is a regular monthly meeting, and we're really so grateful to the UP College of Fine Arts because they've been like the unofficial home talaga. That they've opened their classrooms, facilities to allow us to meet there every month when it was still possible. And maybe Jamie, you can comment in terms of the personalities, because there seems, maybe from the picture shown, everyone's smiling. Parang it's always happy. Parang meron bang naging problem? Like, these are artists after all. There can be very intense personalities and emotions also. How does that pan out?
Sa naaalala ko, wala namang major fight, wala namang major drama. Parang siguro nagkakainisan lang kunwari kung konti lang yung pumunta sa Ingress, konti lang yung nag-sign up sa ganito. And usually that is solved by kukulitin mo lang sila, may message mo lang isa-isa, uy, punta ka kasi kailangan ng tao. Ganun. So,
sorry.
so 'di ba kasi people have different lives, 'di ba? May sarili-sariling pinagdadaanan, and you can't really blame them if they can't commit their time. So, but when you call them, pumupunta naman sila and they really help. Yan. Kailangan lang minsan individual message, please.
Brett, may idagdag ka pa.
Yun nga eh. Pero syempre, kasi nag-work nga ako day job ako. So minsan yung mga ingress na tapat na weekdays, medyo imposible ko talaga siya mapuntahan. So kung kaya weekends na push yan. O ganun lang. Ay sabi ni parang saluhan lang siya eh. Saluhan culture na kapag sinilibre. Let's go. Kung hindi, edi share mo man lang. Ganyan.
Siguro yung advantage, especially now, it has grown big enough na nakakapag salit-salit yung mga tao, because as I was saying earlier, in the early 2000s, the group was quite small that the meetings could fit sa isang table sa faculty room sa UP Fine Arts. And then from there, it had to relocate eventually to a classroom kasi dumadami na yung members. And it continues to grow. Actually, parang naging generational na, no? Yung parang dating kids ata na nagbabasa nung mga children's books na inillustrate nung mga naunang members, member na sila ngayon ng Inc. So matanda na yung founders. Yun na matanda na yung founders. Okay, so Candy is always also asking, ano ba ang selection process and who decides? Who decides if an artist is ready to join Inc? So some of you were mentioning that it took you a few tries before you got into Inc.
Yes.
Lago. So,
There is usually a team of bukod dun sa officers,
Committee.
bukod dun sa current group of officers, meron kaming minsan ini-invite na yung mga trusted na members ng Inc, mga veteran members. So medyo nagbabago-bago din, ibig sabihin yung committee ng nagse-select ng membership. Pero yung process ay pag natanggap na yung lahat ng applications, i-review yan per person, per applicant. So mag-go through sa body of work niya. Tapos yun yung sinasabi ni Jamie kanina na sometimes it can take a whole day to go through all the applicants kasi madami. Tapos syempre hindi naman yan parang paspasan lang. Kasi titingnan talaga yung quality ng work. Tapos minsan hindi lang din yung kung ano yung sinubmit nila sa application. Minsan titingnan din mismo yung social media nila or yung website nila kasi minsan din merong mga nagsasubmit na ng yung kung ano sa tingin nila yung typical na itsura ng children's book, pero minsan iba pala doon yung talagang body of work nila. Minsan advantage yun, minsan naman nagiging siya parang inconsistent na show ng body of work. Pero ayun, ganun siya. Kaya mahabang process siya talaga ng selection. Mahaba at saka nakakapagod. Pero hindi lang isang tao yung nagde-decide. Isang buong committee, isang buong team yung nagde-decide.
Okay, echo yung sinabi ni Angela kanina na may mga applicants na yun nga, iba yung body of work nila versus dun sa application piece nila na based on the story provided by the group. Parang yun nga, may misconception na kapag children's book, it has to be cute. Diba? Kaya when I saw Mark Salvatos' work, sobrang mind-blown na pwede palang ganito. Hindi naman pala kailangan ng sobrang squishy characters, no? Parang may iba't ibang mukha ang children's book and parang all styles are valid.
So, thanks for that insight. So actually, I think as dumadami yung mga gustong mag-apply ng Inc, doon ata pumasok yung need to also be a bit more, what's the right word to use? Dati kasi nung earlier days, parang I guess masaya lang yung org na, oy, may gustong sumali. May gustong sumali sa org. Yay! And then, habang dumami, parang naging mas formalized yung nagkaroon ng orientation sa application, call for applications, orientation, may show and tell. So, it became more formalized compared to the earlier years when people were just happy that, diba, parang people wanted to join. But I think it also is important to point out that just because you didn't get in on 1 year doesn't mean you can't try again. And it's really, I think, like the application process, it's not a cruel process, I think people are always supportive at any point in it. And some of the most prolific members now didn't get in during the first try. Over the years also, that I think there was a yearly opening of the application, and then it became every other year, because it also depends on I guess the capacities of the organization at certain points in time, kasi parang may ebb and flow of resources, more especially in terms of the human resources, what people, because all of this is done voluntarily. Participation in events like this, representing the org, putting together project, it's all volunteer. It's in the spirit of volunteerism. So kung ano yung kaya. Okay, so your last two questions, and then I'll give you like final words to share. Thank you, Candy, for your very generous comments. So she was saying there's so many works shown in your presentations that are worthy of Bologna. So marami na bang nag-exhibit sa Bologna? Natatandaan ko siguro isa sa mga unang nakapasok doon, may special citation ata, was si Ferdinand Doctolero. Early pa yun. And then there was a long gap na parang wala. And then in the recent years, also because the org has been especially encouraging and supportive. Yung nakita nyo nga, may workshop na parang sumali tayo. So sino ba yung mga more recently na-recognize dun sa Bologna?
Si Fran Alvarez,
Si Aldi,
Aldi
Aguirre.
naging sila, na shortlist sila.
Oo. Tapos si Tin Javier sa Children's Spectators, di ba? Recently.
Yung Children
kasama sa
Spectators. It's a separate exhibit, pero yan, na-select din siya.
Bologna din.
Ink represent.
Oo.
Mhm.
So medyo siya, big deal din siya kasi hundreds, thousands ba yung sumasali sa
Yes,
from
from
different
all
countries.
over the
It's the biggest event for children's books kasi, and all of the publishers from around the world go there. And usually before the pandemic, illustrators from all around the world also go there to get their portfolio reviews, hand out, diba, cards, networking, and ayun, na a lot of people in the Philippines, a lot of illustrators, ako, hindi ko siya alam before na mayroon palang ganitong Bologna Book Fair, na akala ko dito lang sa Pilipinas, sariling country. Bahala kayo mag-mingle. So parang mayroon palang ganong international event na you can aspire to get into. And hopefully one day Ink can have a booth there, diba? So we can showcase our works, diba? Our talented Filipino artists, diba? Baka may gusto mag-sponsor. Namin.
So parang yung short answer dun sa question ni Candy, hindi pa ganun karami, pero meron. Meron.
Yes.
Tapos yung
Baby
dream,
steps.
syempre, is to
We've been
really
trying.
get the top recognitions and really put yung ilagay yung presence ng
Philippines.
ano ba yung Philippine illustration,
Represent.
masama talaga doon na tumatak siya sa consciousness ng mga tao outside the Philippines also. Okay,
Yes.
may mga pahabol pang questions. How do you find inspiration when creating a story that is relevant to our current times? This actually, I guess, very spot on also dun sa mga recent illustrated books na nilalabas ng ibang members natin, no? Palagay nyo. Jamie, yung plant,
Oo nga, diba?
with the pandemic, madaming naging plant.
Ikaw lang ang author, illustrator dito eh.
How do you find inspiration on stories based on current times? Well, I think you have to focus on your own experiences, how this affected you personally. Kasi this is how do you find a unique approach? Parang, okay, how did this make me feel? So whether it's like the political climate or like, diba, we have books like yung bagong launch si Ogie Rivera tsaka kay Miss Beth Parocha.
Mhm.
And then
Kung ang hari.
So that's new and reflective of the times. And or like what I did with my plant book, because during the pandemic I became like a big time plantita. Medyo nalulung ako sa mga plants. So I wrote a book about it because I figured, okay, maybe I think a lot of people also went through this. So yeah, so write up, parang focus on your experiences and write about what you know.
I think it might also relate to you're inspired when you get to meet people with similar values or something that you can relate to. And then if it happily turns into a project, parang mas madali siyang mabuo if you seem to be on the same page at pareho yung priorities. Siguro naisip ko lang yung karapat-dapat book. Nag-start kasi yon, hindi naman talaga book yung output na inisip. It started with an exhibit with the theme of children's rights, which was very relevant, especially a few years back, because there was an ongoing debate about lowering the age of criminality for children, also things like that. So there was this ink exhibit in Canvas on children's rights. And then, as it was running, I remember, like Liza, just parang kinalabit lang ako na, yun mo, parang gawin kaya natin tong book. And then parang naging organic na from there. O sige, let's put it together. So eventually, na-publish siyang book. And then eventually, parang it took on a life of its own. Tumakbo na siya, napansin siya ng UN because it's based on the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And then we received a letter na, parang they were parang giving it a citation, which was such a big honor for us. As yun nga, sabi ni Jamie, nakarating sa Geneva. And I guess, when you see something like that happening, it also feeds, diba, the desire to be able to do something more like that. Nakaka-inspire din.
Taglang ako. Kasi,
go ahead, Brent.
Ako proud sa ING kasi we engage with our political climate. Kasi naalala ko, nung nag-post, hindi ko alam, some political post, paano may post tayo about children's rights, something. Tapos, may mga nagko-comment sa baba na bakit kayo nag-engage dyan, illustrators group kayo. I mean, art is political and we're illustrating for kids. So, dapat lang pangalagaan natin siya. We need to use our skills to voice out our stand sa mga issues na to, di ba? So, hindi mo siya mahihiwalay. So, may mga tao sigurong na kino-confine yung group as the cutesy illustrators lang. Yun yung mga pinoproduce natin. But, again, everything is political. Lahat ng nilalabas sa books natin based on political climate ng mga bata sa ngayon.
Oo. Tsaka hindi natin pwede silang i-shield palagi sa truth, lalo na kung andyan lang sa labas ng bintana nila yung mga nangyayari, di ba?
Yeah.
So, okay, actually may mga nadagdag pang questions. So, siguro related dito then. So one question is, what are the usual misconceptions about children's book illustration and illustration in general? Tapos mukhang related doon in terms of, I guess, the application process and selecting who gets into ink. This is from Eileen Ramirez. What is deemed not viable in terms of, I guess, when they show their portfolio? Meron bang ganun na pag pinakita, mukhang hindi ito? So what do you deem as not viable when you select who will become members? How do you negotiate between diversity and an implicit seal of acceptability? So you want to be able to accept, I guess, different expressions, different styles, ganyan. But where is the line drawn, I guess?
I think yung initial impression na, I think Brent mentioned this, na children's illustration has to look a certain way, has to be super bright and colorful, 'di ba? Cute characters, everybody smiling, na hindi naman ganon ang, 'di ba, ang existing children's books ngayon. So if you look at um, children's books in the Philippines and even from around the world, you can see na iba-iba talaga yung look. So I think what we value when we're looking at applications, more than style, is actually their voice. So how they tell a story through their works. So sometimes a lot of sometimes people when they're artists when they're starting out will only illustrate what's written in the text, diba? So what we encourage is go beyond the text, diba? Add something of you, what do you want to tell the reader? Kasi yung nasa text, nababasa na niya eh. So, nandyan na yon. So, you have to add something to it. And I think that's our job as illustrators na to not only show what's in the text, but also enhance the story. So, that's one of the main qualities that we try to look for in applications. So, there. Don't worry about what your style looks like. It can be dark, black and white, scary, abstract. Yeah, basta you can tell the story in your own way, we will recognize that. Ay,
Nakamute ka, Isa.
I don't know if that answered your question, Eileen, but hopefully it touched on it. Meron bang outright nire-reject sa pagkita pa lang? Parang,
pag ginaya niya.
Yes. At saka, pag mukhang late sa school, sorry. At saka yung sobrang halaga din talaga ng consistency. Kasi doon sinusukat kung kaya mo bang i-carry itong style na to throughout a book. Parang makaka-sustain ka ba ng ganitong style? Tapos, yun din, yung sinabi nga ni Jamie na yung skill mo as a visual storyteller. Kasi meron din tayong say sa sa kung paano natin i-interpret yung text. Hindi din palaging kung ano yung nakasulat, yun na talaga yung parang nakatatak na sa bato. Ganun. We can always add another layer, yung voice natin, kung ano yung best na magsuservice dun sa story.
Okay. So, taking from that, ano yung advice nyo sa aspiring children's book illustrators? Siguro, one line, kung may maa-advise kayo. Kasi may a few more questions na nakapila. Summarize.
Okay. Just be you. Yeah.
Sabi ko na
So yeah, like just
pero
focus on what you like to draw. Diba? Be yourself. There's no point following trends kasi other people are already doing that. So just do you.
So may degree talaga kumbaga may degree ng self-awareness din dapat. Or finding your style. Or it may take a bit of time for you to find that also. Angela?
Yun yung sa akin actually. Take your time. Kasi maski naman ako, 'di ba? Nakita nyo naman kanina, sobrang ibang-iba yung style na pinang-apply ko versus sa style na ginagamit ko ngayon. Medyo mahirap to, pero kasi yun din hindi mo rin siya pwedeng madaliin or pwersahin. So, yun kailangan mo siyang bigyan ng time, pero of course, you have to keep practicing, you have to keep learning, maging open ka lang sa bagong opportunities, sa bagong kahit mga technical stuff, sa mga bagong trends, pero just be open to learning new things lang.
Brent?
Pagbigyan ng advice. Kasi ako rin kailangan ko siya ng advice eh. Pero I think hindi lang sa children's book but art in general, being an artist in general, be be observant. Observant sa surroundings mo, sa environment, the people you interact with. Kasi you will find different point of views or knowledge or details about, na pwede mo incorporate sa work mo. And that what makes your work unique. Kapag naging observant ka. Of course, titingin tayo ng mga pegs, sino ba yung mga idols natin dyan. Pero actually, ayun nga kailangan mong kalkalin yung ano ba yung childhood ko, ano ba yung current situation ko ngayon, ano yung kinakain ko ngayon, mga ganung bagay. Yun yung nagpapa-unique sa'yo, yung different point of view mo, experience mo na pwede mo incorporate sa yung work. Yeah.
Okay.
Authentic
Ito,
yung lalabas.
interesting yung question. May gauge ba kayong nakikita o nalalaman nyo ba kung gusto ng mga bata yung ini-illustrate nyo? I guess especially for children's books. May feedback kang nakukuha. Sa sales na lang yun na, oy, magre-reprint ulit kami ng libro mo.
Or it's the sales.
Or ini-impose nyo na, basta ito yung gusto kong i-drawing or gawin na artwork.
Ako wala pa akong naririnig na direct feedback from
From a child.
from a child. Oo.
Minsan may kid test, di ba? Bago nila ipasa sa Illustrator yung project.
Yeah. Some publishers have a kid testing part. They ask you to make a sample and then they will show it to the kids and then magvo-vote sila. So they take that into account. Pero mostly yung feedback ko galing sa mga pamangkin ko kasi they report to me na, oh, my friends in school have this book, ganon. Pero I don't approach a child.
So parang on the illustrator's part, parang hindi yung you're trying to systematically gather data na yung survey
like
dito sa style na to. So siguro, but I think we're also lucky that the children's book publishers now are also willing to be open to different styles, not just yung traditional or stereotypical na ito pambata. Parang even they are growing in terms of visual literacy. Is that part of visual literacy also and appreciation, no? So we're hoping that it's something that continues and it really is a continuing collaboration kasi some of the publishers have also become friends, long-time collaborators that the illustrators have been able to do many projects with. Okay, ito. Related itong dalawang questions. Anong klaseng projects yung feeling nyo kulang pa sa children's illustration industry? So ano pa yung mga kulang na projects? Tapos ano yung Dream Ink project?
Dream Ink project.
Project. Bitin pa na.
May nakikita ba kayong parang gap in terms of the projects for children's illustrators?
Hirap, wait lang.
Pati isip kami, wait lang.
Kasi may maraming quality stories, books na napoproduce. I think kailangan natin ng support from the government para mapayabong itong industry natin. Kasi, di ba, parang illustrators deserve, and writers deserve more. Parang yung production din ng books, paano natin siya paggandahin yung quality, yung support from the government. Parang K-pop lang yan ng Korea. Paano sasabog siya, paano siya ma-empower, paano siya i-finance para ma-strengthen siya, yung industry. Ganun, I think.
Yes.
May naisip na akong Dream Ink project. Gusto ko magkaroon ng Ink Children's Museum. Diba? So, para meron tayong headquarters and then we can have exhibits there. Tapos may activities for kids. Tapos we can have workshops there and then maybe like a very small picture book school. Diba? O diba?
Ay, alam mo, parang ang saya nun. Ink University.
Parang
University.
Pwede yung theme park.
Theme park na, nag-expand. Okay. Pero meron tayong mga franchise na lang. Diba? Para Mindanao.
Parang isang isla na yung kailangan natin dyan.
natatandaan ko dati, parang actually long time, it's maybe in terms of a creative project, yun, maganda if there's a place, no, where you can have all of that. In fact, like before the pandemic, diba, we had projects relating to children's rights also, children's museum, parang may mga experimental ideas na ganon. Pero internally, also, one of the long time wishes is to have a library, an ink library also, because, and sort of archive, because I think, especially when we were mounting this 30th anniversary exhibit, we really had to rely on those members who were able to keep a baul of stuff over the years.
AKA
Because
Liza.
we don't really have anywhere to house all this stuff,
Yeah,
documenting
hiwa-hiwalay talaga,
the
sari-sarili.
life of the org. And minsan na affect din siya ng disaster pag may flood, ganyan. So that's actually been a long time dream to find somewhere where we can really secure it, and diba, parang maintain it and keep it and organize it. We're just lucky that we have members who are there always, we can ask help from or information from. And then I think palaging na-mention naman, pa-joke, but relating to Bologna, it's really that, I guess, no, being able to put a mark on the world stage of what illustration and Philippine children's illustration is, and the different looks for that. Do we have any other questions? Ito, how do you think, maybe this also relates to what you mentioned earlier, Ben, how do you think children's books translate or transition into the digital? Do you also work on non-printed projects? I'm not sure what, maybe the one who asked this can elaborate on what you mean by translate or transition into digital, because there are actually a lot of illustrated books na yung works nila ay digital, or do you mean na it's not a book,
Digital,
it's online,
like PDF,
ganyan?
animation.
E-books, ganun?
Ganon.
Baka ganon, oo.
Ganun.
Baka ganun. Sabihin na lang natin ang ganun.
Hindi ba ito ink project, no? Pero, for example, yung Bati Vote, nakita niyo ba yung Facebook page na yun? It's
Bati
voters,
Vote.
pero ayun, hino-host, ang nag-host ay si Kuya Boji Pascua. Voter education siya eh, pero children's book yung ina-animate, yung visuals. Well, hindi siya ink project, but mga ganun nagsispill yung children's book illustration.
Does this mean e-books also? Kasi kung
E-book.
digital, e-books. Meron na ba tayong e-book? Actually, yung mga ibang publications ng Canvas, they can be downloaded for free as an e-book. So the Karapat-Dapat book, pati ba yung I Am the Change in
Hindi ko
Climate
lang sure
Change?
kung up for
Yeah, but
download na.
there are already a few projects that can be downloaded. So that's one of those that I specifically know. Do you also work on non-printed projects? Non-print projects?
Yeah. During the last year, 2020, ba, start of the pandemic, di ba, nag-upload yung ink ng downloadable coloring pages. So that was digital.
Yes.
And then, ayun, yung mga ina-upload sa ink blog, di ba? So mostly it's still printed, but there are a few projects na digital only.
Di ba yung Adarna din, meron ng parang e-books na parang section sa website?
Meron sila Buri
Ba
books,
yan? Oo.
pero it's like the digital versions of their printed books.
Okay.
Interesting project yun for ink, no? Kung makahanap tayo ng mga techie people na experts yung mga bagong labas sa software na pwedeng saan ba natin pwede apply itong works natin, ano yun, those stuff.
And I guess parang one of the things that people in the org would also like to see is more picture books, diba? The creation of more picture books that are not necessarily reliant on text.
Wordless books.
Wordless
And
picture
then-
books. So,
We encourage all the members to write their own books. Di ba?
Yeah.
Para all the
Mga
creators
dreams.
and di ba? Para hindi ka na maghihintay ng the perfect story for your art. Ikaw na gumawa.
Ikaw na lang gumawa.
Ikaw na gumawa.
Gawin
Mahirap
mo.
lang yun. Sobrang hirap. Because
Kaya
you're
naman
judging
yan.
yourself.
so maybe Jamie, like you recently, you came out with that book. What was the challenge?
Madali lang mag-drawing, pero ang hirap talaga
Ano
ng
yung sabihin mo yung title ng book?
the
Book
plant
mo.
book is called Anything Grows. So it was not a picture book. It's a non-fiction. Sort of beginner how-to book. So ang hirap kasi daming research and I can't just cite myself. Diba na parang based on me. So the research was exhausting and writing it because I didn't take up any creative writing classes. So that was difficult, but thanks to the publisher, they held my hand all throughout. Nalabas naman. Yan. So anyone can do it. Especially picture book, short text lang yon. Kaya natin dapat.
Dapat may persistence yan. And I guess, since you mentioned the
deadline.
publisher, parang it goes back also na the community you're working with, they're not just artists, but part din ng community, yung publishers, pati yung writers. So, everyone involved in the industry, it's better if there's really a spirit of collaboration and cooperation and support. Everyone wins in that sense. I think so. We've actually been talking for quite some time. Let me wrap up maybe with this final question to all three of you. So what are you looking forward to in the next 30 years for Inc., for the org, and for the future of children's illustration in the Philippines?
Angela.
Okay.
World domination? Hindi, gusto ko talaga na makilala pa tayo ng mundo kasi sobrang daming magagaling na artists dito sa Pilipinas. Kayang-kaya nating makipagsabayan sa global market. Kailangan lang natin ng venue para mailabas yung works natin, para mas maging visible tayo, ganyan. Tapos, totoo na dream ko talaga yung Ink University. Malay mo tayo pa yung makapagsulong ng illustration as course, di ba? Malay nyo.
Short course muna.
Hindi short course.
4 years? Oh my gosh.
Hindi ko alam kung paano, pero it's a
Damn
dream.
paperwork. Okay, sige.
Okay.
30 years, the next 30 years.
Support. Oo, support lalo
30 years
na, I
naman,
guess,
mahaba na.
government support also, no? Like, minsan
Yes.
yung presence sa mga international book fairs, kanya-kanyang tayo, dihila ng friends, maghanap ng
grant.
funding. But if certain government institutions can really put a presence there na, oh, may booth tayo. So, bring in your stuff so we can showcase it. Amy.
Ako naman, I'm looking forward to all of the new members in the next 30 years. Diba? All of the different styles, all of the different voices. Can't wait to see what they come up with.
Last but not the least, Brent.
Hindi lang sa children's book illustration, but illustration in general, sana maging, even painting, sana maging sustainable siyang career. Kasi maraming hindi siya ginagawa full-time, like me. Kasi may mga, may pressure ka from your family to provide. Alam mo yung mga ganong, those financial concerns, hindi mo siya ma-fulfill kung mahirap, di ba? Unless, siguro kung sobrang nag-make ka na ng name for yourself. Pero yun nga, yung pagiging sustainable niyang career, sana mangyari siya in my lifetime. Para alam mo yun,
Next year.
Oo.
yeah,
Next year.
Yung
Parang-
arts in general, no?
maraming artists ang mag-focus talaga sa craft nila. Parang hindi lang siya on the side.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let me end the open forum section there. Thank you all for your insights, sharing your experiences and your wishes and dreams for the future of artists and illustrators and Ang Ink. So I'll turn the floor over back to Boots for some remarks.
Okay, thank you. Sandali lang. Ayan. So, yeah, thank you, Isa and Angela, Brent, and Jamie for a very engaging conversation. Collectively, your presentations actually gave us a better understanding of your practice as individuals and as being and the value of being part of an organization like Ang Ink, and also being part of the industry. I especially want to note that Brent gave me a better appreciation of the variety of styles and techniques represented in the ongoing exhibition here. So, mas matutuunan ko no, ng pansin yung aspect na yun when I visit the gallery again, and I do that once in a while. Sana rin may attendees who can help bring your dream projects into fruition. I think an Ink University is a project worth pursuing. Sana merong mga prospective sponsors dyan. And thank you again for Art in the Park for allowing us to share this conversation, which is actually part of the education program for the Ang Ink Story exhibition. So with that, we thank you and we hope you can visit the Ateneo Art Gallery. You can just visit our website, ateneoartgallery.com, and you can also and please register. Make sure to, before coming over, visiting the campus, you need to register so that you will be allowed to enter the campus at gate 3. You can go to this link or scan the QR code so we can easily monitor, file your visit request, and you will be sent a confirmation once your entry is approved. Okay, so I would like to call on Lisa Periquet to join us. Is Lisa joining us there? Okay.
Hi. Hi, everyone, and thanks for a great presentation. You guys really organized that well because you each talked about a different aspect of INK. INK has a special place in Art in the Park because we've been there since the start. And it's always been a big group, but always kind of organized. It's kind of impressive. And then, of course, you've lasted 30 years. Art in the Park is only 16 years old. So you're way ahead, being one group through 30 years, more or less, no? I'd like to tell our viewers also that there is a special exhibit of Art in the Park, which will just happen on one day. That's April 28th, Thursday. So you're welcome to come from 4 p.m. So aside from the exhibit at Ateneo, we've invited the Inkies to be at the park as well on Thursday, August 28th in the afternoon. So hope you can come and see. They have special works that they made for the park. Can we take a photograph? It's our documentation for this whole thing. So if we can Can somebody give us a countdown?
All right, we'll take a photo. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Start in the park.
Thank you very much.
Been a
Thank
great
you all.
conversation.
Bye.
Bye-bye.